Welcome to Thank You Thursdays. Today, Harshi, Jayan, and Pranav share a thank you message to our friends, supporters, and everyone for getting us to this stage where many people know of the charity and multiple research projects are underway, not only in Australia but in multiple places around the world. Let's start with Harshi, then Jayan, and then Pranav. Harshi.
Australia is famous for its Bunnings sausages. Hi, I'm Harshi Singer, and today I'm going to tell you about our Bunnings barbecues. We have been excited for Bunnings barbecues ever since we started them, about 2 years ago, and we still do it. It raises so much money, and we want to do a huge thanks to Bunnings for letting us do barbecues at your place. It does take a lot of time and effort, but we also thank our volunteers for your amazing help, and we couldn't have done it without you. Thank you to our consumers, volunteers, bike riders, and George for your flashy red Mustang, and Terry for his outstanding turbo Hayabusa drag bike. And also, thanks Ratty for giving us a ride in your trikes. Have you ever been to a Bunnings barbecue? Please write your answer in the comments below. As always, subscribe, share, and like or dislike. If you'd like to communicate with us outside of the comments, please visit our social media platforms, and together we will find a cure.
Thank you, Harshi. Jayan. Can you share yours?
Did you see the third day of the series? Hi, I'm Jayan Singer, and this is FoxG1 Bring Back to One TV. Welcome to Thank You Thursdays. Today I will share more about parkruns. We have already done an episode on this before, so if you haven't already, then watch the third episode. As well as being beneficial to our health, leg muscles and stamina, parkruns also help raise awareness. We could exercise or volunteer so that we can make the parkruns possible. We do many types of volunteering, such as tail runners, corner markers, or timekeepers. But when we are running, we're all in a large group, so there's not that much of a variety. We used to go there with Charlie, our dog, but now we have no time. There was a lot of people, so we could spread the word, and it was so fun. That's why I miss parkrun so much. I wish I could do soccer, cricket, and parkruns all in 1 year. Comment down below whether you did any running events, and if you did, then tell us how much you've participated in, especially if it's parkrun. Also, if you remember, then this saying should be familiar. Listen up, couch potatoes. If you run 1 hour a day, then you gain 7 years of your life. Also, thank you to our 2 subscribers. Make sure to watch the today, and together we'll find a cure.
Thank you, Jayan. Pranav, you want to share your story?
Want to know why I thank the advances of genetics and computers? Hi, I'm Pranav Singer, and today I'm going to tell you about the advances in genetics that led to the creation of CRISPR. I know because I watched a TED talk about it, and the link is down in the description below. You're probably wondering, what is CRISPR? Well, CRISPR, spelled C-R-I-S-P-R, is a tiny thing that is even smaller than a cell. Now you're probably asking, what does it do? Well, it goes into the nucleus of a cell and cuts the bad DNA out. Then it replaces it with the good DNA. After that, it naturally deteriorates. Now you're probably wondering, how is it made? It is a tool that comes from nature. Viruses have defense mechanisms against bacteria. Scientists have found out how to replace all the bad things inside the virus with good DNA, and also program it to insert the DNA in the right spot. Do you know what CRISPR stands for? Please write your answer in the comments below. If you would like to chat with us, outside of the comments, please visit our social media platforms, and together we will find a cure.
Okay, guys, my section is a little bit long. I'll let you guys go, and then we'll come back again. All right. Thank you.
Bye. See you later,
Bye.
peoples. Don't forget your toilet paper.
Thank you all. I wanted to keep this thank you post for everyone who's become friends with Kush. And who have helped out in so many ways. It was not without everyone's help. It is not without everyone's help that we would have been able to get so many research projects underway. Also, at a macro level, I wanted to recognize and thank the other macro conditions, including the beautiful country, the infrastructure that makes taking care of the basic needs of Kush, basic neuro and meds and everything possible. Without the infrastructure, governance, and so many factors, today's research miracles would not be possible. I cannot myself put it in better words than this article that was published in 2014, couple of days before Christmas, on the Washington Times. Let me read this. It'll take a couple of minutes. I believe everybody should hear about this article, and a link to this is in the post below, in the comments below. But yeah, it's beautiful, by Richard W. Rahn on the 22nd of December 2014. He says, I'll read it word for word. As we go into this Christmas week, you should count your blessings that you live in 2014, he was saying. Would you prefer to live as the French King Louis XIV did from 1643 to 1715, or as you do today? Would you prefer to live like a French king of the 16th, 17th century, or would you prefer to live like as you are living today? The average lower income American who makes about $25,000 per year lives in a home that has air conditioning, that has a color TV, a dishwasher, owns an automobile, and eats more calories than he should from an immense variety of food. Louis XIV, he lived in a constant fear of dying of smallpox and many other diseases that are now cured quickly by antibiotics. His palace at Versailles had 700 rooms, but no bathrooms. Hence, he rarely bathed, and no central heating or air conditioning. 100 years ago, John D. Rockefeller, he was the richest man in the world. He did have bathrooms, but still no air conditioning. Like Louis, he and his family were still in constant danger of dying from what would now be quickly treatable ailments or accidents. Rockefeller, he could travel by train or steamship, or very short distances by the newly invented automobile, or on largely dirt roads. Luxuries not available to Louis XIV. Louis and Rockefeller had many servants to gather and prepare food for them, but they could not get fresh food out of season, or had tiny choice of food compared to anyone who has access to a modern supermarket these days, where one is increasingly able to purchase pre-prepared or prepared meals of far higher quality and variety than anything that Louis or Rockefeller could ever dream of obtaining. Richard also says, his Cato colleague Marian Tapi has created a website, humanprogress.org, which graphically details the enormous progress humans have made on nearly all fronts. People in the world live far better today than they did a mere half a century ago. World per capita gross domestic product is now a little more than $14,000 a year. This is 2014 numbers. A little less where US was in the 1960s, or where Japan and the UK were in the 1970s. Inflation adjusted. In October, the World Bank reported that those living in extreme poverty fell from 36% in 1990 to 15% in 2011, almost greater than greater than 100% reduction in poverty, 50% reduction in poverty. Incomes in the United States, Japan, France, and many other developed countries have been rising at slower rates for the past several years, primarily because of the growth of government regulation, taxation, and counterproductive spending. Even so, most things are getting better. In countries with smaller and less destructive governments, sectors such as Singapore, South Korea, and Hong Kong, the rise in real per capita income continues at respectable rates. Much of the real increase in the quality of life is not captured by the numbers used by economists and the global statistical organizations, such as GDP and disposable income per person. For instance, cuckoo, you okay? For instance, if you have an iPad or a smartphone, we now all have access to all of the information on our fingertips. We have all of the world's information on our hands. But before the development of the internet and the World Wide Web, obtaining most information was time consuming and costly. Does anybody remember going to a library these days, even? Now, this information is almost instantaneous and is often free or at a very low cost. The cost of your iPhone or iPad is collected in the GDP collection data, but the enormous benefit to everyone who uses these devices is not. Um, Billions of people on this planet now have these devices which greatly enhance their lives countless and in immeasurable ways. When pharmaceutical companies they develop drugs, the cost of the drug is counted in the GDP. Not counted are the benefits such as missing less work, enjoying a healthier life, or surviving an illness because of the drug. The Wall Street Journal reported that the chance of once chance of recently reported that once chance of dying in a car produced in the last 4 years was about two-thirds less than a car produced in the 1990s. The cost of cars is counted in the GDP, but many of the design benefits in safety, quality, and convenience are not counted. Most likely, cost of the car then and now is about the same, but the benefits from the same car is so much greater now. In more than 100 countries, there are more cell phones than people. Many of these are poor countries that had few landlines. We measure the cost of the phones but not the human betterment. That comes about as people can now do business and stay connected because of the phones. The only thing that will yeah, I think this is super critical. The only thing that will stop human progress is bad government. Cuba is a poster child for bad government. It was once one of the richest places in Latin America, but now many countries that had lower per capita incomes before the Castro brothers took over, such as Chile and South Korea and Singapore, have made kings of their citizens. The average worker in Singapore makes $2,616 per month, and the average Chilean worker makes about $1,021 per month. An average Cuban makes only about $20 to $50 per month. Per 100 people, South Koreans have more than 6 times the number of cell phones, and those in Singapore have 8 times the number of cell phones as Cubans. Compared with Cuba, these countries are free market democracies. He then says that I expect that if Louis XIV were to return, he would prefer the life of the average citizen of most countries today, but not Cuba or North Korea, to the one that he had before. Richard Rand is a senior fellow at Cato Institute and chairman of the Institute for Global Economic Growth. Thank you, Richard, for that beautiful share. I think that puts a lot of things in perspective. Just wrapping up, this is why we are also grateful to a great and progressive government for ensuring progress, especially coming from me as I am someone who's lived the first 28 years of my life in India, and many of those years were under a licensed ride system. In those times, even buying a scooter needed people to be on a 3-year waiting list. It's unimaginable these days. So, to sum it up, thank you to the whole country for supporting this environment where FoxG1 research and research for so many other conditions is flourishing. Together, we will find a cure.
Hey, you were meant to call us for that.
Okay, come guys, quickly. Adi, Abhay, Anya, Jayan, quick. So, we're still rolling and recording. Come, quick. Go that way. Yeah. So let's wrap it up. Together,
Together
we will find a cure. Okay, thank you. Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you, everyone.
See you later, dudes. Also, that last paragraph was really good.
Yes.